Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. And today, we're being joined by Spencer Shaw, author of Moving to Puerto Rico. Spencer, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. Are you ready to begin?
I am. Let's jump in.
All right. Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
I would say consistency trumps everything. And what I mean by that is show up and just start writing. And I know that's hard because sometimes you get down, you open the computer, or you pull out a notepad and you have no ideas. But it's like showing up to the gym. Some days you just don't want to do it, but you do it. And then when you're done, you're so glad you did.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
I think that it can be overwhelming in a different varieties. So for example, if you have a technical background, maybe going through the publishing mechanics of having everything formatted correctly and, deciding on platforms and distribution might, in the technical perspective, might not be difficult, but on the creative perspective of writing your table of contents or understanding the reading behavior and having something sticky at the beginning might be hard. And likewise, if you're creative, the technical pieces may be overwhelming and terribly difficult. I know for me, when I approach things, I always try and understand what I'm up against. And if it's something overwhelming and technical, I go to a thinking process, which is who, not how. And so I try and find the people that can complement the lack of strengths that I have.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
Okay, this I love. Absolutely, it's great. What I love to do, and I communicate in my favorite way of just talking with people. And there are creatives that love to ink it out on paper, and that's great as well. So what I did in the marketing is my book was about Puerto Rico because I lived there for several years, and I wanted to get locals involved. So I did interviews with locals. I talked to different surf instructors. I talked to people that own restaurants, and I was able to record these interviews. I talked to people that own beauty companies, and it helped me to be able to converse with them and learn how they think. But having it recorded, we were able to use it for marketing, and it helped with distribution because not only were they happy to share it with their audience because now they're famous, but it helped us because now it brings in all their friends, their family, and it was so tightly connected that it just created a lift overall.
Speaking of books, I'd like to know what is your favorite book and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Oh, man. Probably my favorite fiction book would be The Alchemist. I love reading from Paulo Coelho. His writing is just amazing. And I think what I enjoy most about it is that I can pick it up from 5 or 10 years ago or pick it up today, and I learn a new and a different philosophy each time. And I can just kind of snap on it. I also love the audio version. The narrator, Jeremy Irons, was amazing, and that was incredibly helpful. And the kids and I have listened to it in the car, so that's been really good. And then as far as nonfiction books, there's a slew out there. I don't read as much business as I used to, but there was a book by Felix Dennis that he wrote years ago called How to Get Rich. And I know the title is kind of awful, but the book was really good. And and it was one that I loved because he had nothing to prove and nothing to lose. And when you have that kind of tone, you can really cut through a lot of the clutter.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Oh, quote. Oh, that's a tough one. I think I'm going to go back to the business world that I live in, and I'm going to say, and I talked about it earlier in this recording, which is who, not how. And I take that quote from Dan Sullivan, and I try and think about that quote anytime I am embarking on a new project or new daunting tasks. Instead of me always trying to figure it out, or me being the one that has to do it, why not find someone that loves it? So find a who can do it for me instead of me having to how that.
Well, Spencer, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
So a great place is Twitter. You can find me at Spencer Shaw. You can also find me at my work place, which is at podkick.com, podkick.com, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search for my name.
Spencer, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
My pleasure. Thank you. It was such a joy.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.